Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Fluently Forward. Today, we are talking about Jojo Siwa, her new bad girl era, and we are also going to be ranking all of the different bad girl eras and bad boy eras, because I think those are kind of fun to dissect and analyze, and how you kind of do a bad girl era right. What makes it good, what makes it cringe, what makes it right, what makes it wrong. And then we are going to be going into a little bit of Jojo Siwa, and shiver me timbers, I could not believe that she has blind items. Like, Jojo Siwa is a enigma. If you're watching along on YouTube or you've seen any of the videos or clips on TikToks, I am, in fact, dressed as Jojo Siwa, which to me is just bedazzling your face, hair, and body with rainbow accessories and then kind of calling it a bad girl era. So that's what I am doing on this Sunday morning. Have a little bit of fun with it. And I have to warn people before we get into this episode, I'm a fan of Jojo Siwa, okay? Like, yeah, I am a fan. I just think it's we're getting a little bit nostalgic. We're getting a little bit of a renaissance when it comes to music this summer. We've covered Charlie XCX and the Brat album, Chappell Roan and how her star is taking off in a big way, Sabrina Carpenter, it's that Me Espresso. There's just a lot of good music coming out this summer. You have celebrities with their boyfriends, whether it's Sabrina and Barry in her music video, or it's Taylor bringing Travis up on stage. And yes, my bedazzles will be falling off as this episode continues to go. But it just feels a little bit nostalgic, a little bit like what we were kind of missing from celebrities. They fell off during COVID. They didn't really know how to get famous other than singing Gal Gadot's Imagine video. There wasn't really paparazzi. We did an episode about how they're not clubbing anymore, but it finally feels like we're getting a little bit of a renaissance. Like pop culture is fun again, or at least pop music is. And I do think Jojo Siwa is contributing to that. Whether she's, I was going to say a punching bag, but considering how she dresses, she's more like a piñata. Sometimes you need someone to kind of goof and gaff on. It used to be Justin Bieber, right? Back when he was in his purple hoodie era. And I feel like Jojo Siwa is like, yeah, you could say what you want about me, but she is and has been for a while Halloween costume level famous. You always know when someone's dressed like Jojo Siwa, and people are talking about her. I did this TikTok that actually surprised me. It did numbers because I just made it half asleep in bed. How I was comparing Jojo Siwa in her new era to Charlie Sheen back in the days when he was, going on the news and talking about how he was obsessed with cocaine, tiger blood, and he had the catchphrase of winning, Also, if you follow along over on Patreon, we did an episode all about celebrity thruples, and Charlie Sheen was very loud and proud about his thruple that he was in with his two goddesses. He's talking about it on the news, etc. And I myself am seeing a lot of similarities between Jojo Siwa and her bad girl era and Charlie Sheen talking about cocaine on ABC News, because these are two people who are so bold and brash, but it's not that they're bold in like a, wow, how brave, I'm proud of you type of way. It's more that their shame gland just doesn't exist. And they're talking so boldly and proudly about things that most people are quiet about. So when Charlie Sheen is so proud and bragging about cocaine, it comes off as weird. And when Jojo Siwa says with a big smile on her face, I'm in my bad girl era, it just feels a little weird, doesn't it? Anyway, but I see similarities in between the two of them. So I'm really excited to get into this episode. And we are going to start it off with the bad girl eras. I've broken them down into some categories here. We have, and of course, this is all my opinion. Feel free to fight me online about it. I'm curious to see what everybody has their own opinion on. But I have broken it down into the notable well dones, the notable poorly dones, and then the reverse. So instead of being a good girl going to bad, we've had a few celebrities that started off bad and then cleaned up and became a good girl. And I find that very interesting too. So let's start with the notable well dones. Rihanna. Okay. And by the way, everybody, I know that I mispronounce things a lot. It is Rihanna. I've looked her up saying it. It's not Rihanna. It's Rihanna. But she also says that you can say it however you want. But yeah, Rihanna. She is, to me, the number one. Bad girl Riri. You know what I mean? Good girl gone bad. Like, I still remember the taglines, her Instagram handle, everything to do with that. And when I think of Rihanna's bad girl era, obviously, I picture the album cover, that teal background with her silhouette in a diagonal. But there's a few things that come to mind. The short hair, the bondage lyrics. We had no business as millennials singing that as little kids. Sex in the air, I don't care, I love the smell of it. You know, very raw, very nasty, which is going to be a big difference to a lot of these other bad girl eras that we're going to be talking about. Chains and whips excite me. You know, nobody else was saying it like that. The tight clothes, the big earrings, the way that she kind of had that waterfall, like the bangs over kind of half of her face, but the hair was still short. The main thing, why this was so well done, it just felt authentic. She can really pull off a bad girl era, because I think a part of a bad girl era is when you're a bad girl. What's that Joan Jett song? I don't give a damn about my bad reputation. You have to not give a damn. And part of not giving a damn comes with having a strong foundation. And I think that Rihanna has that. I also think, too, this was around the time when Chris Brown beat her. And I remember, everyone in the nation was like gripped by that. And even though this is going to sound in poor taste, obviously it wasn't planned or anything like that. But I think when people thought of Rihanna at that time, they kind of thought of that idea of having to overcome something, having some sort of trauma, wanting to turn into a bad girl, having some sort of like metamorphosis or something like that. And I don't think it was on purpose. God, no. But when you think of Rihanna in the 2000s, that was kind of the time of everything. And she did seem like this badass, take no shit, do it on my own type of girl, which really worked for the bad girl era. The clothes, the hair, the short hair, like everything worked. It was such a great, well done. I still think of Rihanna as a bad girl. Now up next, Beyonce's. I thought Beyonce's quote unquote bad girl era was very interesting because I feel like she kind of had this kind of sweet, squeaky clean, pop girl, Destiny's Child, big smile on her face. And shockingly enough, which I haven't really seen for any other celebrity, I feel like her bad girl era was kind of when she became a mom. You know, that's when we got Partition, seeing Beyonce on her knees, Monica Lewinsky all on my gown, etc. And the main thing that I think of when I think of Beyonce's quote unquote bad girl era is that chair dance that she would do. And it's not, is it a chair dance? You know what I'm talking about. It was like that silhouette lounge, and she would swing her legs up on it and her silhouette would be in the background as she did. Like, my God, tell me, you know, you watched that music video and didn't try to do it at home somehow. But I just personally like that a lot because I feel like for most celebrities, it's like, oh, I just turned 18. Now I'm a bad girl. And Beyonce being like, I'm getting older. And what do they call it in 30 Rock? I'm at the tail end of my dirty 30s or whatever. You know, they say that basically men are at their, I don't know, like horniest or most sexually active or thinking about it in their teens, like 19, 20. And they say that for women, it's at the end of their 30s. So just as a woman myself, I really liked that her bad girl era came as she got older than just being in her early 20s. So I liked it. She's a notable well done. Selena Gomez. She never went full bad girl, but she did go from squeaky clean Disney girl into sensual, beautiful adult woman in a way that Miley Cyrus wasn't able to do, Demi Lovato wasn't able to do. Hilary Duff kind of did it a little bit. And that is just a hard bridge to cross, to go from Disney girl to look at me, I don't know, I'm a woman or something like that. And I think it was the Come and Get It music video. The Come and Get It music video, it teetered right on the line of, do we get mad at her for being sexy? Because, you know, that's what everybody does for female pop stars. But we didn't. It was just towing the line with, I feel like, an air of Indian cultural appropriation in that video, if I'm remembering that video correctly. She was also a little bit sexy in the Love You Like a Love Song music video, but these were kind of like strapless gowns, bejeweled corsets that were also long. And Selena Gomez did it so well that I just can't help but think, was there some sort of team behind her following that rule of being like, if you show midriff, then you can't show cleavage and butt. But if you have a short dress on, then you could pair it miniskirt turtleneck because then half of it is classy, you know, kind of the science and the formula of how to look sexy without anyone getting mad about the fact that you were a Disney girl. I'm sure it's one of the hardest things to do in the entertainment industry. Now, another notable well done, and this is going to get some people mad at me. I can just tell. I hate to say it. Hear me out. Justin Timberlake. Okay. This take is going to ruin the tour. What tour? The world tour. I also don't like Justin Timberlake. And I mean, for me, it was way before even the DUI incident. For me, it was when that heinous song, Can't Stop the Feeling, was played everywhere for a summer. I think, was that the same summer that Pharrell's Because I'm Happy was also played everywhere and you could not get away from it? Don't like Justin Timberlake. But his album, Future Sex Love Sounds, was so good. It was so good. We did an entire Timbaland episode over on Patreon that we now made public as well, so you could go search for that. He is a notable well done mostly because of Timbaland. And you know what I've realized when it comes to celebrities? If the music is good, people will stop hating you for a bit. And I think we saw that recently with a case in point, Ariana Grande. Okay? Everybody was mad at her. A lot of people still are, but she dropped Eternal Sunshine. It was a banger album. And how good was the Boy Is Mine music video with Penn Badgley? I found myself very attracted to Ariana Grande in that video. The music, the visuals, if they're good enough, people kind of let your morals slide. Which, by the way, is why we haven't forgiven Justin Timberlake, because the latest album, it's no Future Sex Love Sounds. But Justin Timberlake, and you know what, for a lot of these people, we're kind of seeing, a woven thread of appropriation, I think, in a lot of these like bad girl rebrands or bad boy. But Justin Timberlake, he shaved off that ramen hair. He split from NSYNC, and then he just dropped such a good album. And he was kind of like, I'm in a suit, but I'm clubbing, bringing sexy back. And we see other people try to do this, right? Obviously, Harry Styles tried to do it. Zayn Malik went a little bit more in the bad boy direction from One Direction. But Justin Timberlake, I just think, I hate to say it, he's a notable well done for me. Now, obviously, we also have to end with two of the classics. Christina Aguilera with the Dirty music video and Britney Spears with the Slave for You music video. I mean, those were incredible. People still talk about it. It's been maybe 20 years? Those were just such good transitions. They were kind of competing for each other's bad girl eras. And I personally have such a draw to those Britney Spears music videos. That was when I realized that I was attracted to women. I remember I watched in a row Slave for You, Toxic, My Prerogative, and then Boys, Sometimes a Girl Just Needs One. And I remember sitting at the family computer and going, something is happening. And that something was also happening to hundreds of thousands of other people who were watching the music videos. It's making history. Britney and Christina, notable well dones. Okay, let's get into the poorly dones. Some people might disagree with this one, but I'm going to start things off in the notable poorly dones with Justin Bieber. And I know his Purpose album, it was more grown up. The songs were sexy on it. His song Confident, his song No Pressure, those are some songs that I find very, very sexy. But to me, he still reads a little bit as an adult baby. I don't know if, a lot of people I think disagree. They're like, Justin Bieber is so sexy. Like, he's such a man now. I know a lot of people want him. To me, he just still reads as having not made that transition yet. Like, yes, he's grown up and yes, he's a bad boy, but he's not a bad man. And I feel like Rihanna, Beyonce, Miley, those are people who stand on their own as adults with like 2 feet on the ground. I think of them as having very strong foundations. And I just feel like that still hasn't happened with Justin Bieber, Maybe that's because part of his bad boy era was, remember when he peed into that mop bucket and shouted, "Fuck Bill Clinton"? So random. But even though he's married and about to have a child with Hailey Bieber, I still think of him being like mothered by Hailey Bieber, needing to be taken care of, having a little bit of a weak foundation. And I'm not trying to, drag him, even though it probably sounds like I'm trying to read him or something. But like, to me, it's just still giving baby boy, not man. If I was to give any suggestion to Justin Bieber, I would say you should have had a year of just traveling around the world, expanding your worldview, meeting different people, doing some good, spreading your money around. Then you come back with a different haircut and then everybody sees you as a man. or something. That would have been my suggestion. Oddly enough, Jesse McCartney, I think, even had a better transition from boy to man when he went from Beautiful Soul to I'm leaving, never gonna come back again. And that shake, shake, shake. I don't know why. It just felt a little bit more adult. I think he also got a little bit bulked up as well. Also, Justin Bieber, there was just so much going against him because unlike Justin Timberlake doing his transition, Justin Bieber was so much younger when he started, and there was just so much material to work with to kind of keep him in that boy area. I mean, for me, when Kate McKinnon did the SNL parody and she pretended to be Justin Bieber in the Calvin Klein's ad, you can't come back from that. It was such a good parody. Today's episode is For Your Vagina. There's no beating around the bush, pun intended. I want to tell you a little bit about Soaking Wet. It's a supplement from VB Health. You might have seen me in Vegas with VB Health at the Porn Awards, aka the AVN Awards. I am so excited to learn about Soaking Wet because you have probably heard me talk about discharge too much on TikTok. But Soaking Wet is this incredible supplement. It's a blend of probiotics, prebiotics, and vitamins. It's basically like sending your vagina to the spa. So whether you are battling with BV or you are yearning to not have a yeast infection anymore, or perhaps you just literally want to be soaking wet and up the ante in the lubrication department, you can check out Soaking Wet. It's formulated by these medical doctors at VB Health, and it has thousands of probiotic strains. So it's just, like I said, sending your vagine to the spa. So you can visit soakingwet.com and use code FLUENTLY for 10% off, or you can click the link in our episode description. And by the way, that code FLUENTLY for 10% off, if maybe your vagina is crystal clear and everything's good, they also have green superfoods. They have sleep gummies, way more. So go check it out. You know that I love talking about this topic too much, so I'm a big fan of Soaking Wet. And you can use code FLUENTLY for 10% off at soakingwet.com. All right, another poorly done for me was Miley Cyrus. When I think of her bad girl era, I think of her tongue being out, her crotch being grabbeth, the cultural appropriation, Nicki Minaj and her allegations that Miley Cyrus was caught giving head to will.i.am in the recording studio. This is a rumor, and this is gossip, and this is parody, and this is for entertainment use. But that was what I heard on the internet at the time. I think it was just, sure, it pivoted her, and she went from Disney girl to adult. But so many people, when they think of Miley Cyrus, they still remember that time in their minds, and they just do it with a little bit of a poor taste in their mouth. And I'm also upset because we got a Miley and Britney collab, but it was during the bad girl era, and imagine how good it could have been if it was in a pop era. Now, once again, because I like to give suggestions that are unasked for, but I think that's the nicer thing to do, right? Because everyone can be a critic. Not everybody can brainstorm a solution. So I like it when people, toss their hat into the ring there. What I would have done for Miley Cyrus to transition from Disney girl to real adult, instead of having the bangers era where you're grabbing your crotch and wearing a teddy bear onesie, I would have pivoted to country. And I would have said I went from Hannah Montana, now I'm doing Jolene in the backyard sessions, country, and then you come out a full-fledged woman. I feel like those are the two paths, right? It's either do something virtuous and good or, show your body on stage. And that's kind of, for most teens who want to become adults, those are the two paths that you take. All right, the star of the show, Jojo Siwa. Obviously, she is a notably poorly done. I think it's fun, though. I think it's poorly done, but fun. When I think of Jojo Siwa and her bad girl era, of which she is currently in, I think of air humping. I think of being gleeful about something you shouldn't be gleeful about. I also think, too, with Rihanna and Miley, there were, growing up young and in the spotlight, there's kind of like hard things that they both went through before the bad girl era, which made the bad girl era seem a little bit more real. But with JoJo, even though being a child in the entertainment industry, I mean, she became a brand basically at age 12, I think. And I believe she started taking dance lessons, we're going to talk about this later in the episode, at fucking 2 years old. So that definitely comes with its own form of trauma and something to work your way through that would maybe spur a bad girl era. But for some reason with JoJo, it just kind of never felt like anything in her life was hard. Even though I do believe a lot of things in her life are hard. It just kind of feels like this bad girl era is something that she's doing for fun and not because she needs to. Whereas with Miley and Rihanna, it felt like the bad girl era was needed. Does that make sense? Now, that being said, I enjoy it. Look at me. I'm covered in bejeweled rhinestones. I'm enjoying it. Okay. These last two. Ooh, I'm going to get some messages. Okay. Ariana Grande. I have her as a notably poorly done. Because for me, she started off as, I'm a teeny bopper, you know, the skirts, the hair in a high ponytail, the cat ears. And then the bad girl era was, I'm a teeny bopper who likes sex. Okay? It's just my opinion. I'm putting it out there. And I feel like part of what a bad girl era needs to do, and I will say JoJo is doing this, is to say, to hell with my reputation. I don't care what you think about me. This is what I'm doing. I'm doing it my way, and I'm just going to be raw and authentic and gritty. All right, the Jojo Siwa is, I don't care about my reputation. I don't know if JoJo is giving raw, authentic, and gritty, but that's what Rihanna was giving, right? And Ariana Grande was still at this point in her career where I believe she was only filming from the left side of her face. You know, she did that music video, Side to Side. It's a song about getting railed so hard that you're walking from side to side. But in the music video, every hair is in place. She's only filming from the left side. She has on this pink eyeshadow. Her hair is perfectly curled. And Rihanna's bad girl era was like, there's sex in the air. I like the smell of it. Britney Spears was, boys, get nasty. And Ariana was like, I'm horny, but we're coloring in the lines. Do you get what I'm saying? One of the main things, and I remember my friend Bridget and I were talking about this. We talk about some weird stuff. We were saying, I think that there's a chance Pitbull might be a feminist because in a lot of his songs, he's talking about sex, but he's getting after it. Now give me that sweet, that nasty, that gushy stuff. Let me tell you what we gonna do, 2 + 2. You know what I mean? He's just talking about, let me get in there. It's gonna be a little bit weird, and I'm gonna dive in with goggles on. I don't care. Whereas for me, and to me, that's like raw, nasty, bad girl. We're into it. And Ariana was like a bunny bondage mask with a perfect blend of highlighter on the collarbone. It just read to me as not real because it wasn't raw. It was just kind of like a glossy flirtation. And look, I'm not saying she had to like show whole for it to be real. But I'm just saying it felt a little bit like glossy magazine. And it's hard for a bad girl era to also be glossy magazine. It's supposed to be a little bit more like underground dive bar or something like that. All right, the last one, as if enough people weren't coming to kill me. Taylor Swift. I'm sorry. I know I will be crucified, but for me, she is a notable poorly done with Reputation. And this is what I'll say about Reputation. I think it's the best part of the Eras tour. I love jamming out to Reputation. Some of my favorite songs of hers are on there. I think that the Reputation tour was phenomenal. I have a hot take. I actually think the Reputation tour is better than the Eras tour. I just think, the Eras tour is incredible. When you go back and you watch the Reputation tour, which you can because it's on Netflix, she was flying around the audience multiple different times. She had people out with big drums. She had people being suspended in the air and doing flips. Like, the Reputation tour was fantastic. But in my opinion, the bad girl era didn't quite fit on her. And I want to personally apologize to Kelly Williams from Beyond the Blinds for saying this because I know Reputation is her favorite album. I just think Speak Now, Fearless, 1989 were the most her. Now, there was a good, background for this, like I said. Unlike Jojo Siwa, where it seems like she's just doing this for fun, Taylor was mad. Taylor was pissed. Taylor was upset that her reputation was besmirched by Kanye and the Kardashians. So there was a reason for the Reputation era. But to me, it wasn't a good bad girl era because it didn't read as authentic, and it could have if it was just twisted a little bit. The whole point of the Reputation album was, I don't care about my reputation. I'm just going to do whatever. I don't even care about my reputation. Who cares about my reputation? Taylor Swift is a girl who cares about her reputation. She is PR. She cares so much about her reputation that she's releasing albums in different countries to stay number one just in that country. She's always been in her bag. She's always cared deeply, endlessly about her reputation, her charts, her numbers. She cares. She cares. So to put out an album being like, I don't even give a fuck, it's like, you've always given a fuck. And even now, you're making your whole era not giving a fuck, but it's because you give a fuck. Does that make sense? I also think too, Reputation was a moment in time, but the lyrics in it just didn't line up with everything we heard before and then everything we heard directly after. So if she's singing in Reputation, I play these men like, what'd she say? I play these men like a fiddle or whatever. Like these men always want me and I just know how to play them. Well, like the album before it, we're getting lyrics like, I'll watch your life in pictures like I used to watch you sleep. And then the lyrics we're getting directly after are, hey kids, spelling is fun. I promise that you'll never find another like me. So to me, I just, it felt a little forced and put upon. I think the album is great. I think the performance on the Eras tour is great. It just didn't hit for me. And I feel like with Miley, with Rihanna, we still see kind of reverberations, if that's how you would say it, of their bad girl era. Rihanna puts out Anti. Sex with Me is amazing. It's kind of like a remix of the S&M song. Sex with Me is amazing. What's that lyric? It's always wet. I don't have to put lip gloss on it. With Miley, we're still getting songs that kind of reverberate with that confidence of the bad girl era. And Taylor Swift, I could talk about this forever. To me, she's so relatable. And, I like a lot of her lyrics, but they're not giving, I'm strong on my own. It's giving still, even now today, I'm a mastermind. I twist myself into a pretzel for you. I do this, I do that. Kind of like I react to how you treat me and then I make a plan rather than like I'm bold and I'm moving on this path myself. Okay, now let's go to some people who had a reverse bad girl era. And this is they went from a bad girl to a good girl and they quote unquote cleaned up their act. Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga first started as, the meat dress, paparazzi, poker face. She was in the costume. She was raw. She was out there. She was a bold, innovative pop star. And now she's kind of more in her era right now of being stripped back, raw, A Star is Born, getting into acting. I see her, with that natural bare face a lot of times. So it just kind of seems to me like an interesting backwards progression. Kesha, obviously, that's a big one. But I think that's also just, when you first, have you seen that video of her performing on, I think it was Good Morning America? And Matt Lauer, he was like on the couch and she's performing TikTok with a bottle of Jack and like running over to the beige and pastel colored couch and decor and like singing with her hair all messed up and the silver sequins. I mean, fantastic. Obviously, then she goes through everything that she went through with Dr. Luke. She puts out that album. I'm forgetting the name of it right now, but it's a little bit more country. She has that song Praying on it. So it's a little bit of a backwards progression. Lana Del Rey, I think, is interesting. I mean, she's been up, down, all around, trailer park girl, boarding school girl vibes. She's done a lot of different things, but I feel like she kind of started from I'm a gangster's girlfriend and is now moving to like, I'm a Midwestern girl, trad wife in my apron Americana or something. And I feel like she does a lot of these aesthetics kind of tongue in cheek, but I could kind of see it. Avril Lavigne, she started off, right? She's a bad girl. She's at the skate park. She's got her eyeliner on. And then she went a little bit into pop, which usually, people go in the other direction, starting with girly pop and then moving to eyeliner skate park. And Christina Aguilera, of course, we mentioned her in the bad girl phase with being the Dirty Music video, but she went from the Stripped album to Back to Basics. And I loved that Back to Basics album. I remember it really surprised a lot of people. And I think that's interesting too. Sure, you can grab people's attention by being a bad girl, but you could also grab people's attention by stripping it back to basics and showing them another side of you. And I think someone who's interesting as of right now, Olivia Rodrigo, because she's kind of like pop punk girly fishnets, but like with a big smile on. So I feel like she's kind of towing the line between bad girl and good girl, because it's kind of like bad girl aesthetics, but she's just got such a good girl soul and like heart to her, which I think is going to be interesting for her coming up. Because then if you're straddling the line, how do you shock the public by either going bad girl or good girl when you're already doing a little bit of both, So anyway, let me know what you prefer. Do you like it when a good girl turns bad or when a bad girl turns good? I like a good girl who goes bad, and I think that's just because not to start some discourse, but I almost feel like just from an angle of, where we are politically and what's going on, if a bad girl turns good, I'm like, then Ben Shapiro wins. I mean, you've probably seen those clips of him. He gets so triggered by women making horny music videos, and he sits there at the Daily Wire with his microphone. And I mean, honestly, I think the WAP music video almost killed him. He was he was so upset by it. So I feel like if hypothetically, for example, Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion had a good girl era where they were like, I'm going to picnic and bake pies, I'd be like, don't you dare. Ben Shapiro is going to love it. All right, so let me know. We'll do some voting or chatting about it over on Instagram and TikTok this week. Let me know, what you agree with, what you disagree with, and who did I miss? Today's episode is brought to you by Squarespace, which is the all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online. If you're just starting out or managing a growing brand, Squarespace helps make it easy to create a beautiful website. And I know that because I've been using Squarespace for, I think, the last 5 years. That's right, my website, fluentlyforward.com, which you've probably read because before I was a podcaster, I wanted to be a blogger. I did it all on Squarespace, and I've loved using them for these past 5 years. Just first of all, their design. I'm just like, if I'm going to put my whole essence into a website, I want to know that it's going to look pretty, and there were so many different options on Squarespace. You don't have to code it yourself. You can just pick from all of these wonderful templates. And by the way, now they have a new Squarespace AI tool. So I know sometimes the hardest part of a website is having some sort of tagline or a different paragraph for each page explaining what it is. And you can now use their AI tools for that. And I just found out too, they have a flexible option on Squarespace to have courses. So you can create and sell your own online courses. Very cool. I know I'm going to be looking into that. So you can head to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you want to launch, go to squarespace.com/fluently to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. And now let's get into Jojo Siwa. So Jojo, before she was a bedazzled bad girl, that should just be her tagline at this point, she was honestly normal. It just seemed like she was going to have a normal, albeit heavily focused in dancing, but kind of a normal life. Like she wasn't a Nepo baby. She's not born in West Hollywood or anything like that. So her name, Joelle Joni Siwa. I like JoJo. I just think JoJo's great. She was born in Omaha, Nebraska, to her mother, Jessalyn Siwa, who was a professional dance instructor from Iowa, and her dad, who was a chiropractor from Nebraska. So, just looking at that, you kind of wouldn't think that anything crazy is going to happen. She has one sibling. She has an older brother named Jaden. He was also a vlogger. He now works as a real estate agent. And she started her dance career mad early. So she was the youngest contestant on the second season of Abby's Ultimate Dance Competition, which was put together by Abby Lee Miller of Dance Moms. I have only ever seen clips of Dance Moms, so if I get anything wrong here, I apologize. I'm just like, tangentially familiar with it. So she started this competition when she was just 9 years old, and she was the youngest competitor in the series. And, a lot of people say, when are we going to get rid of these dance shows? When are we going to get rid of child pageants? There's no reason to be making these young kids dress and perform. If you want to take dance lessons, that's fine. But when you get into kind of a cutthroat performance lifestyle, especially when there's money on the line, which there is, it could be really damaging to the kid. So her mom, I think as a dance instructor, really pushed her and put her into this. And the reason why she joined the series was because she wanted to win a $100,000 cash prize and a scholarship to this Joffrey Ballet School in New York. So each week at age 9, she would basically battle it out on the dance floor against all of these different competitors. And she kind of started to get a little bit of a reputation for charming people who were watching. She had a very spunky personality. She had different quirky catchphrases. I'm a princess, duh. And also watching those catchphrases is, you feel a little bit conflicted because they're cute catchphrases, but they're coming from such a young girl. And I think she has like some sort of lisp or something. It's like charming. It's adorable on a kid. But yeah, I just always feel a little bit icky now. The more that I learn, should I be entertained by a kid? I probably shouldn't even be watching them. But anyway, she was also iconic because she had a love for hair bows. If you know Jojo Siwa, she has bright blonde platinum hair that's always in a tight, high ponytail, like side high ponytail, and there's always a big bow in it, which I find interesting. I think her mom, we can all agree, is a little bit fame hungry, clout hungry. Was the bows something that was started because JoJo loved them a lot because certain kids have little accessories that they love? Or was her mom trying to like brand her immediately? So anyway, that season she made it to the top 5, but then she was eliminated. She didn't make it to the number 1 spot. And I just want to point out this fact. I was able to find it on an archive of Jojo Siwa's own website. It says JoJo started dance lessons as soon as she could walk and did her first solo at the age of 2. Maybe? I find that crazy. I mean, I have a niece who's 2 years old, and I could not imagine her doing a dance solo. I don't know if that... Now, look, I'm just pulling it from JoJo's own website, jojosiwa.com. To me, it just read interesting, but who knows? Anyway, so then she keeps dancing, and she kind of gets a little bit into the music game. And I know a lot of people probably think that Karma and this bad girl era is her first foray into music, but it's actually not. So in May 2016, she put out her songs Boomerang and I Can Make You Dance. And Boomerang is kind of talking about online bullying. You know, it's going to boomerang off of me and come right back to you. The video was viewed over 1 billion times. I think a lot of people think Jojo Siwa is just someone who's trying to make it a little bit of a gag and a goof and a meme. To children, I think she's Madonna. Anyway, so then also in 2016, she released a line of hair bows with the company Claire's, which I feel like that's a perfect type of merch thing to do for her. It's a perfect collaboration that fits the demographic. And I've always said too, celebrities need to do more merch of what makes sense for who they are and who their brand is. So I hate how every celebrity is like, I'm going to do an eyeshadow palette. When Shane Dawson did an eyeshadow palette, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Make a chip. Make a chip and dip. Like that is your brand and more people would buy that. And honestly, I feel like it would have been more lucrative too. But I just feel like everybody just gravitates to makeup palettes, skincare lines, and it's so stupid. Do what makes sense. So like I want Zooey Deschanel to partner with Anthropologie, or I want her to have a line of different clip-on bangs that would look really chic because like that is her brand. Do you know what I mean? That's just, anyway. So I think for JoJo, the hair bows, they make good sense. She says the hair bows are, quote, a symbol of power, confidence, and believingness. Believingness. All right, so there we go. She also did another collab with Claire's. It was Jojo Siwa branded cosmetics kit in 2019, and they had to get recalled because the FDA put out a warning saying that there was a dangerous level of asbestos in it. Which is not funny, but it is funny because it's Jojo Siwa. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, she then signed with Nickelodeon in 2017. She was in the film Blurt. She was doing these lip sync battle shorties with Nick Cannon, father to everyone. And then she continues her partnerships. Now she's working with JCPenney in 2018. She does a line of accessories, boom. She does bedroom decor, boom. She does a doll made in her likeness. She releases several books aimed at young children. And this is when, to me, it starts to get a little bit sinister because she is 14 now. She's 14. She recently turned 21. But at this age, she's 14. She has an entire fucking brand and a company. At age 14, she has more merch than some celebrities, even A-list ones, have in their entire lifetimes, She's 14 and she's got a makeup kit, bows, accessories, bedroom decor, dolls that look like her, and then books. A bunch of books. So of course, everything that she's putting out, all of this merch and accessories, it's all marketed to children. And that makes sense because she's a child, But then she turns 18 and the marketing is still basically geared towards children. So in the year that she turns 18, she works with General Mills to put out a breakfast cereal called Jojo Siwa Strawberry Pop. So she's not doing the bad girl thing at age 18. She's still staying in the strawberry pop bop type of atmosphere. Corn puffs with marshmallows shaped like yellow and white stars, pink bows, blues hearts. So she's kind of staying in that aesthetic lane. Now, things change a little bit later in the year 2021. In January, Nickelodeon puts out this board game on Jojo Siwa's behalf, or in her likeness, which, let's be honest, she was not writing those books at age 14. All these people are just putting out stuff in her likeness. It's a board game called JoJo's Juice, and it's marketed for children 6 and above, and it ended up being withdrawn because there's different questions in this board game about nudity, allegedly. I think that's a little bit of a stretch when we read what it is, and being arrested. So there were playing cards in this board game called Truth or Dare category. And two of the questions, one said, have you ever been arrested? Which I will say is insane for like a board game, children 6 and above, like asking an 8-year-old, have you ever been arrested? They're like, I haven't even gotten my period. What are you talking about? You know? And then another question was, have you ever gone outside without underwear? Parentheses, a bathing suit doesn't count. So I think a lot of people saw this, bought this for their kids. They were upset by it. Controversy spun out. Jojo Siwa said this, quote, over the weekend, it has been brought to my attention by my fans and followers on TikTok that my name and my image have been used to promote this board game that has some really inappropriate content. When I first saw this, I was really, really, really upset at how gross these questions were. And so I brought it to Nickelodeon's attention immediately. And since then, they have been working to get this game stopped being made. And they have also pulled it from all shelves wherever it's being sold. I hope that you all know I would have never, ever, ever approved or agreed to be associated with this game if I would have seen these cards before they started selling it. So that's kind of the first controversy. We have another one too. We talked about this a little bit over on Patreon. If you guys want, we could do a mini this week, kind of diving more into it. But in February 2024, so very recently, Jojo Siwa and her mom, it was like this scandal came out about them. So basically they put together this band or like girl group called XOMG Pop. And they put all of the members together. It's dancing, it's singing, I believe so. And then this kind of hit piece, or no, what would you call it? Like an expose came out about them, saying that Jojo Siwa and her mom were making their young members of the group, because it was all children in this dance group, miss school. There were poor working environments. I remember like the moms would come out with the daughters to like stay in LA and help them out in the dance group, and they had like no money. So Jojo Siwa's mom would be like, oh, if you want, you could clean my house and then I'll pay you. And it was just really all of this like nasty shit going on. So if you want to, check out more online about, just put in XOMG Pop Jojo Siwa allegations. You'll be able to read articles all about it. My takeaway from this is kind of similar to the board game. I don't think Jojo Siwa was kind of pulling the strings. I think, sure, she might be a little bit fucked up. I think all child stars are. But to me, it was reading more like the mom was the real villain in the story. All right. And then, of course, we get to April 2024. She puts out her first single as an adult artist, Karma. Karma's a bitch. I should have known better. And even that song gets backlash because there was another artist who literally did that entire song, like lyric for lyric and semi tune for tune years ago. And it was just like a ripoff of that song. And I think that some of the other songs she's coming out with as well, people have said, hi, I wrote that song. It's on my SoundCloud. She just stole it from me. Now, even stealing allegations aside, she has gotten even more criticism because she has been doing these absolutely insane sound bites. She did an interview with Billboard and she said, quote, I want to start a new genre of music. It's called gay pop. Gay people have been making pop music before. So it's just wild that JoJo's like, I'm going to do something new that's never been done before, when it's not new and it's been done many, many times before. So she got backlash. There was negative criticism that she got from Tegan and Sarah, who are queer musicians. She then later said in an interview, like, oh, I take it back. I'm not the inventor of gay pop, but I'm the CMO of it, or something like that, which just the fact that she even knows what a CMO is, I do think it's really sketchy how involved she had to be in becoming a business in her tweens, right? Now, she's also, I will say, she's got a thick skin. She can deal with a lot of online hate, but I think some of the way that she views it is a little bit misinterpreted. So she said this, quote, I could say I want world peace, and everyone would be like, how dare you want peace for the world? It would just blow up. And I think parts of that are true, but a little bit exaggerated. If Jojo Siwa said, I want world peace, people wouldn't say, how dare you want peace for the world? But they would say, how dare you want, when you're a privileged millionaire who could be working on these issues and peace treaties, but instead you're making merch and selling it and doing dances. And it just, it kind of reminded me, we did a Patreon episode all about, sorry I keep shouting out Patreon episodes. I just like saying if it's Patreon or public, so that way you guys know where to look for it if you want to listen to it. But it was a Patreon episode all about how celebrity women who are incredibly attractive and they struggle with their attractiveness, like you can tell in different interview quotes that Megan Fox and Madison Beer, etc. So when we deep dived into Madison Beer, because she's a really hot woman who I think struggles with being perceived as super, super hot, she had a similar quote to that Jojo Siwa one about world peace. And she said, what was it here? I feel like I've spent a lot of time being unheard. I could be shouting a message from a rooftop and people would just be taking pictures. Today's episode is brought to you by Pair Eyewear, and you can wear it too. We can all wear Pair Eyewear, especially now in these sunny summer days. Pair Eyewear is great for people because with Pair Eyewear, you can just switch from your prescription frames to sunglasses for that UV protection or polarization in just a snap. So they have a bunch of different sun tops. They're super convenient. Ultimate summer companion. And for me too, now that I am living in Denver and driving in my car, I need to have a pair of sunglasses, literally a pair of Pair Eyewear in the sunglasses, in my purse, on the go. It's just better for you all around, honestly, not to talk about skin cancer in an ad, but it's just better to be wearing your sunglasses. Also, Pair Eyewear, I mean, they have a bunch of different varieties, but now they have a new Mickey and Friends collection. So they have some playful patterns. They have some ones with like more subtle nods on them. What's the one? The mini floral. That's the one that they have in that collection that I just think is adorable. So you can celebrate friendship and adventure this summer with Pair Eyewear. Go to paireyewear.com and use the code Shannon for 15% off your first pair, and mention that Fluently Forward sent you in your post-checkout survey to support us. That's PAIR eyewear.com with code Shannon. The thing about her quote and Jojo Siwa's quote is that, yes, like, trust me, I get it. As someone online myself, you sometimes feel like the general public is so unfair, or you're constantly misunderstood, or even if you try to do good, it's not enough, or, people take your words out of context. There's definitely this feeling where you can find yourself falling into a victim mentality and being like, no one gets me, because even if you see 100 positive comments, one negative comment will just kind of stay in your brain. It's just human nature. But I just wish that JoJo and Madison and any celebrity really talking about this would talk about it more from the psychological perspective of, what are you going to do? There's always going to be bad apples. I have to take it upon myself to learn ways to have it not affect me. That's at least what I do for myself, right? But when Jojo Siwa and Madison Beer, Jojo's like, I could say that I want world peace and people would hate it. And Madison Beer is like, I could be shouting a message from a rooftop and people would just take pictures. To me, it rings as kind of hollow because Jojo, you're not saying that you want world peace. You're not like geopolitically involved at all. You're not working with the Red Cross. You're not volunteering. So what are you saying that you could say you want world peace? You don't do anything related to that. And with Madison Beer, she's like, I could be shouting a message from a rooftop. And it's like, really? Because I just don't get activist from you. I don't get telling people to go out and vote or like, Greenpeace, save the pandas or anything like that. No, look, maybe I'm sure, every celebrity is a little bit involved in philanthropy, but I just find it funny when these celebrities are criticized and they're like, I could build 1,000 wells in Eastern Africa and people would still be mad at me. And it's like, yeah, but you haven't even built one well. I actually haven't seen you do any philanthropy whatsoever. But they always put themselves in that position of like, I could be doing the best things in the world and people would be mad at me. And it's like, well, yeah, you actually haven't even tried. Why don't you try doing some good in the world? And then if people get mad at you, then you can say those sentences. But it seems like a lot of these celebrities just kind of stay at home scrolling on TikTok. And then they're like, you guys would get mad at me. So that's why I'm not asking for world peace, because I imagine that you guys would get mad at it. Does that make sense? I don't know. It's just some thoughts I'm working through. Anyway, more about Jojo Siwa's Bad Girl era. Yeah, she's showing up to places, the iHeartRadio Music Awards in black mesh bodysuits, a faux hawk, which is like, come on now. Like black bedazzled makeup that's kind of inspired by the band Kiss. And it's getting a lot of different reactions. Gene Simmons, who I think is a little bit clout chasey from what I've heard, said, quote, she looks cool. Other people are calling it a fairly jarring rebrand, and a lot of people are basically saying, quote, she looks the same as she once did, just in darker colors. And of course, she became a meme overnight. The internet can't stop memeing her. Now, she also recently came out as being gay, part of the LGBTQ plus community in January 2021. She at first didn't label her sexuality. I believe that now she's confirmed she's not attracted to men. She's only attracted to women. So she first came out in a TikTok video and she was dancing to Born This Way by Lady Gaga. And then a few days later, she kind of posted like a more definitive message. It was a photo of herself wearing a shirt that said best gay cousin ever and saying that her cousin got it for her. And I do think it's interesting with celebrities when they come out in any way, unless it's like incredibly definitive and it's in like a press statement, they usually have to do it twice. I remember Bella Thorne did that. She was like kissing a girl on Snapchat on the lips and everybody was like, okay, but is it a joke or not? And then she had to tweet and be like, yeah, I'm bisexual or something like that. It's very interesting, isn't it, too? You know, certain celebrities, like when Lil Nas X came out and he was like, dead ass, I thought I made it obvious. And he was like showing all the different rainbows that he had been dropping. And I understand that people say, don't speculate on someone's sexuality, even though we do all the time. We speculate that people are straight, which is a sexuality, and we do that all the time, but it's only gross to do if you're speculating that somebody's queer, even if they're dropping hints and flags and little shout whatever. That could be another episode that I could do. But I just find it interesting that tons of celebrities, including Jojo Siwa, have to kind of come out with like two different messages or statements because people are always unsure of the first one. Isn't that so funny how we're so like trepidatious now with celebrities? Remember when Rihanna was trying to show off her pregnancy at the Super Bowl, but nobody wanted to be like, oh my God, she's touching her stomach. Could she be pregnant? Because the early 2000s were like, stop saying that all celebrities are pregnant. And then at the end, she was basically like, yes, that was a pregnancy announcement. Like, I hope that you guys got it. But like nobody wanted to say it. All right, her relationships. She was on again, off again with Kylie Prue. And I think this was 2021 to 2022. So this was when she came out. I remember she said that she was Kai-sexual in some different interviews that she was doing. And then she dated Avery Cyrus, who I believe is a social media content creator. I've seen some of her TikToks from August to December in 2022. And I will say Avery in some of her TikToks references JoJo, and it's a little bit messy. So I like watching it. So you should go check out Avery Cyrus on TikTok if you want to see that. Now, I was reading an interview that she did when she was talking about dating Kylie, and she tells this story about how they met on a cruise ship. Quote, I told her my whole spiel that I tell everyone when they ask me my life story. She goes, I could have Googled that. I want to know your life story. You just told me your career. I want to know about you. And I was like, no one's ever asked me that before. And the thing that fascinates and horrifies me about Jojo Siwa is her career is her life. If you want to get scared shitless, go look at her house tour video. It is something. She has a toilet with her face on it, and she uses that toilet. It's not like a display toilet. It's like a shrink wrap toilet with her face all over it. Her car that she drives everywhere, you guys have probably seen videos online, has her face all over it. She has this like house mansion, which is basically a shrine to Jojo Siwa. It's a museum. Like her own outfits that she's worn are on display on the main floor in a glass case, just like you would. I went to like a Taylor Swift exhibit at a museum once. Yeah, it's like that, but it's on her main floor of her house. And she has a gumball machine, crane games, unicorn statues. Everything is like an ode to Jojo Siwa. She has a slime room. Those Barbie dolls of her that were made in her likeness when she was 14, they're like mounted on all of the walls. And I just feel like with some people, like with Trisha Paytas, when she does it, it's almost kind of like camp and tongue-in-cheek, but something about it for some reason just kind of feels a little bit more sinister when I see it because, you know, who is Jojo Siwa? She can't actually be someone who wears rainbows all the time and her diet is pixie dust, you know? I urge people to go check out the house tour. You know, there's a bunch of them that her and she's partnered with other people on YouTube to do them. I would just say if I had just one room in my house that had that much of me everywhere on the walls, I would be horrified. I would be traumatized. There was this comment on one of the YouTube house tours that cracked me up. It said, that house would scare serial killers. And that's honestly, that's how I feel about it too. Now, real quick, I do want to say, when Jojo Siwa came out, she got a lot of support from celebrities. She got a lot of support from people online. Now, of course, everybody's making fun of her, blah, 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 whatever. She said at one point, she said in different interviews, when she came out, it's the most happy and at peace she's ever been with herself. But then she said that at one point, after coming out, she Googled herself. Quote, then she read the thousands of comments. I never should have done that. I was thinking that all of the comments were going to be nice and supportive, and they weren't. A lot of them were, I'm never buying your merch again. My daughter's never watching you again. I couldn't sleep for 3 days. And I do feel like because of who she is, I'm so interested in like the sociological aspect of celebrities and how we view them and how we treat them based off of how we view them, which is basically just how their PR team wants us to view them. And, it's not actually who they are. We do treat people differently based off of how we view them. So if you're into like, any of that internet gossip and lore, it recently came out, we talked about this a bit over on Patreon, that Tana Mojo revealed that she hooked up with, or I guess I should say Cody Ko hooked up with her when she was 17 and I believe he was 25, maybe even older. Wait, hold on. Let me get it right. Yeah, that was it. So she was 17 and he was 25. And obviously Cody Ko is taking heat for this. I don't even think he's like put out anything online since it happened. Yeah, maybe we'll do an episode on that at one point. But a lot of people are obviously enraged, but then a lot of people are also like, okay, like what's the big deal? Like you guys were both friends, you guys were both influencers. And I think it's because, some people are saying Tana Mojo, she's on OnlyFans. She is kind of like a self-proclaimed Insta-thought. She had to grow up really fast in Vegas. And I think that a lot of people were like, well, it's not that big of a deal because it's Tana and her reputation and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, it is. That's heinous. A 25-year-old sleeping with a 17-year-old. Like, what the fuck is that on about? And we've talked about this before, too, even with, like with what Megan Thee Stallion went through. Everybody was like, oh, well, she's like the confidence queen. Like, she can handle it. She doesn't need anybody to help her. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Yes, she does. She got shot. Like, imagine if Ariana Grande got shot. Or even like when Taylor Swift was dating John Mayer, she was 19, but she's so tall. And I know this sounds crazy, but like she's so tall that together it was like, it didn't look as drastic as like, I don't know, let's say like if Millie Bobby Brown at 19 was going to be dating someone. There's all these different hidden things that we pick up on and stereotypes and judgments that we do that interpret how we react to a situation that somebody's been through, right? And it's usually for the most part bad. And I just think too, Jojo Siwa has kind of been turned into such a joke and a meme of a person that I haven't really heard this story about like what it was like when she came out and having to go through that and having to see all of these comments being like, oh, you're out as gay. I'm never buying your merch again. I'm never going to let my daughter watch you. And that must have been like so traumatizing. She said I couldn't sleep for 3 days. I just feel like we never really hear a lot about that story because we always see Jojo Siwa smiling with a pep in her step and a ponytail on and like giving a thumbs up to the camera. It just made me think. All right, now lastly, we're going to get to the Jojo Siwa blind items. Can you believe it? There are, in fact, Jojo Siwa blind items. What kind of world are we living in? Speaking of reality stars, this former tween reality star turned adult celebrity isn't doing a very good job of having people sign NDAs before she starts messing with them. I smell lawsuits in her future. That one to me feels a little self-submitted because I feel like Jojo would read that and be like, hell yeah, spread that blind item. I'm messing around with people. Is she? I just can't get a read on her because once again, like to me, she's just kind of a walking meme. This former A-list social media star was just added as a replacement on a competition show, So You Think You Can Dance, and is now going to have to be replaced herself. This former child reality star is now all grown up and wanted to show it by getting a tattoo. The problem is a huge portion of her fan base is old-fashioned religious granny types who are also the primary ticket buyers, and they were not happy at all about the tattoo and her new rebellious image. The star and her management were caught by surprise by the heavy backlash, and they are now in panic mode as they fear that this will impact future ticket sales. Wait until those fans later find out that the star is also closeted. Well, we did in fact find out. So I guess that blind item ended up coming true. But that was about when she got her first tattoo with Raven-Symoné and her wife, Miranda. All right, now we know that Jojo Siwa and Rachel Ballinger, that's right, the ukulele playing toxic gossip train YouTuber, were friends. And I think Jojo stuck up for Rachel at one point. This blind item was interesting. It says, another day, another family member taking advantage of a much younger person. Was it grooming? If you are almost 30, hanging around with a 16-year-old and letting the 16-year-old pay for everything, using the 16-year-old for fame and continuing to do so to this day. Yes, the 16-year-old is now legal, but she spends many tens of thousands of dollars on the adult each year. I'm so sorry. I'm just realizing the reveal said Rachel Ballinger. This would be Colleen Ballinger, wouldn't it? Yeah, that would be Colleen Ballinger. She was the ukulele playing. I'm not totally up to date with my YouTube gossip, but I think that must have been a mistake for whoever wrote it. Anyway, back to the blind item. Jojo Siwa, she's now legal. She spends many tens of thousands of dollars on the adult each year and does everything she can to make the adult famous. All of you know who the former 16-year-old is, so that would have been Jojo Siwa. And this blind item basically alleges that she not only is being used by Colleen Ballinger for fame and clout, but she also spends a lot of money on her. This is kind of a mid-blind item. It says it's crazy, but this A-list celebrity to the under 12 crowd, Jojo Siwa, is being told to grow her hair out if she wants work. I believe that. I bet she's told, a dozen things every week. Do this, do that. This is for your image. Say this, go there, blah, blah, blah. Okay. This blind item, I really don't think it's true, but it made me giggle. This former child reality star turned A++ lister to the under 12 crowd is now threatening to do hardcore lesbian porn to make her people understand that she is not interested in pandering to the youth market any longer. Look, is that true? I don't think so. I'm just so tickled by the phrasing of it. I am going to threaten you with hardcore lesbian porn. I'm going to terrify you by munching box. I want you shaking in your boots. I'm going to touch a titty. This one made me sad. This A-lister to the under 12 crowd, Jojo Siwa, is going to continue to be used by everyone she dates. They don't actually care about her, but just the fame boost. Plus, they have all taken photos of her. Today's episode is brought to you by Way. Way has fantastic hair care products. Hair is important to me. I am of the belief hair is important to every single person. If you wake up and you have a good hair day, you're out of the house more. You feel more confident. You take more photos of yourself. You just feel all around better. So that's why I love using Way's products, and they have products for everyone. They also have a hair quiz on their website if you don't know what your hair type is. I just love taking quizzes. So they have shampoo and conditioner for every single hair type. If you want volume, they have fine hair and conditioner. If you have, hair that's in between fine or thick, they have medium shampoo and conditioner. If you want moisture so rich that you're going to need a prenup for it, then you can have the thick hair shampoo and conditioner. That's my situation. So if you want to wash your way to healthier hair with shampoos and conditioners made just for you, you can go to THEOUAI.com and use the code FLUENTLY for 15% off your entire purchase. That's THEOUAI.com with the code FLUENTLY. I don't know what that last sentence is. Are they saying that it's dirty photos or something? That makes me sad, though. It does make me sad. I'm just sad and look, I know JoJo's done, nefarious things, stealing the songs. And I guess what happened with that girl group, even though I do believe, it was more her mom who was in charge of that. I just feel sad, though. I mean, somebody who's been performing, dancing, working since age 9, and that's all that they've known, and all that merch that was out by the time she was 14, and this blind item, getting used by people she dates because they just want clout. Yeah, I feel a little bit sad right now. Sorry guys, I'm bringing down the vibe. Another blind item. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of smaller producers who will give a movie role to this singer, dancer, reality star who is always full of energy. They think she can sell tickets. What everyone knows, though, is that she can't act. It's basically stunt casting and hoping that she has enough pull left with her fans to try to get them to buy tickets. There was a blind item alleging that there was a recent history of drug abuse and other problems, blah, blah, blah. And this was associated with, God, remember this? Jojo Siwa didn't get an invite to the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards, and this was the same year that she came out. And a lot of people, which, like, once again, if it was anyone other than Jojo Siwa, I feel like we all would have been way more up in arms about it. People were up in arms about it. They talked about it, but it wasn't anything crazy. So this blind item, I think, is kind of alleging it's not that she came out, that she wasn't invited to the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards. It's that allegedly there's, drug abuse going on. Allegedly. A blind item that says one of the people closest to her is also stealing from her. This one I think was so funny. There's a blind item that says this late night show, SNL, was recently asked for guest host ideas, but one big favorite who is A+ list to the under 16 crowd, Jojo Siwa, was immediately dismissed. Apparently, the ancient one who runs the show, which would be Lorne Michaels, doesn't like her. And I think SNL, they had that Weekend Update bit where I think Chloe Fineman came on and she impersonated Jojo Siwa. It was so good. I am digging SNL lately. They are so plugged into online stuff. And honestly, Lorne Michaels, bad call. Having Jojo Siwa on SNL would have been hilarious. I totally would have watched. This A-list celebrity to the under 12 crowd wants to be an actress, but won't stop complaining about every bit of it. Mark my words, 5 years from now, she is going to be a walking blind item. I could see that. This one really shocked me, okay? I think most people would be shocked to know that this A+ list teen celebrity to the under 10 crowd, don't you love how the age always changes, is a chain smoker, and that gum you see her chewing around kids is Nicorette. Now, I feel like that would kind of explain all of her energy. Also child stars, they're always hooked on something, drinking, drugs, cigarettes, eating, social media. I just feel like that type of hard lifestyle breeds bad habits, basically. That being said, I used to chew nicotine gum back when I couldn't get an Adderall prescription, but I needed something to help me focus with work. And what I learned from chewing it myself, what the fuck am I talking about? But look, I'm just going to say it. You don't chew it like gum. You chew it a little bit and then you kind of stick it under your tongue. And if you keep chewing it, that actually, I think it made my tongue and my lips go kind of numb and fuzzy. And then I looked at the directions and I was like, oh, you're not supposed to be chewing it all the time. So I'm going to have to go through and see Jojo Siwa. Does she have gum in her mouth or is she chewing it? Because if it's chewing it, then it's gum. But if it's just in her mouth, it could be nicotine gum, in my experience. And then this last blind item, you will never get me to believe it, but let's see. This flowering financial institution, could be Azealia Banks, says that this foreign-born A- list model / horrible actress who could give Wilder Valderrama lessons on how to pick up women, allegedly Cara Delevingne, sent $2,000 worth of flowers and a piece of jewelry to this professional dancer, Jojo Siwa. She is definitely taking her shot. I'm sorry. I know Cara Delevingne hooks up with a lot of women in Hollywood. You will not get me to believe that she was trying to put the moves on Jojo Siwa. If anything, when I read that blind item, I think to myself, Cara's very proudly queer. She does a lot of queer work. I could see maybe when Jojo Siwa came out, she sent her a huge amount of flowers to be congratulations, you're so brave. I'm so proud of you for doing this. You're just not going to get me to believe that something was going on there. So anyway, that is our episode for this week. Let me know what you think. Whose bad girl eras do you vibe with? Do you stay up late at night still hating on? And what do you think of Jojo Siwa? Are you also kind of having some fun with it like me? Or do you just think it's so incredibly cringe and you hate it? I want to hear everybody's thoughts. Let me know over on Instagram and TikTok. If you want to check out, what did we do this week for Patreon? Oh, it was a fun one. We did an episode all about the Fountain of Youth. So the legend of the Fountain of Youth, how it came to be, how different cultures have this idea of healing waters, healing springs, youthfulness, a hot spring that can heal you after battle, where that came about, and longevity. And all of these billionaires, some of them creepy pedophiles who are now locked up in jail from what they did in the Bahamas, nasty piece of shit, Peter Nygaard, or some of them like Brian Johnson, who made all of this money selling his company to eBay, I believe. So he made like $800 million off of that. And he is on a quest to try everything he can to, quote, age backwards and be the first man to do that. So we looked into everything, all of these clinical studies, what actually is working. There's some really cool stuff going on that actually makes me like, for the first time in a long time, pretty amped about the future. So if you want to check all of that out, it was kind of like a fun woo-woo episode with a little bit of scientific stuff in there. So patreon.com/fluentlyforward will get you that episode and I think like 100 others. So you could go check that out. And in the meantime, I will see you for another episode next week.